To all our CCR TV viewers, a warm welcome. We continue with our sports series, and we all know that football and Goa are closely connected. Goans, they say they are nuts over football. And if this scenario is so, it's because Goa has produced lot of talent in football. We have had internationals making a mark in Goan football, and we are lucky that we have today with us one of the finest strikers that Goa and perhaps India has produced. He was described at that time as the most intelligent forward that we had, and to top it all, he was known as the first professional footballer in Goa. Let me welcome one and only Francis D'Souza from Saligaon. Welcome, Francis, to CCR TV.
Thank you very much for having me.
Francis, there's a long story if we have to describe you, and I don't think so we can make justice in the short period that we have. But I think we will encapsulate all that. And we start right from your roots. You started with Don Bosco School, and from then you have grown up. Could you tell us about your initial initiation into football?
Yeah, in fact, when I was in a convent school in Saligaon, from the village that I come from originally, I used to kick the ball around in the fields, paddy fields. And somehow, somebody said, you are really good in playing football. But in the paddy fields, you're not good as long as you go and prove it somewhere. And I had to change school from the 4th standard onwards, because in the convent school, they would not take boys after the 4th. So that's where I opted to come to Don Bosco's. Not because of football as the main reason, but somehow I think something was there, because there were other schools like St. Anthony's and Arfora, and even in Kalangut, we had schools which were much closer, with close proximity to my home. But I don't know why I chose very stubbornly to go to Don Bosco's.
Don Bosco was also a boarding school.
Yes.
And you were a boarder.
And that also as a boarder. Because when you get so much attached to your home and your family, I don't know why I decided to, opt to come to be a boarder. And school was so far away, with convenience also was not there. So coming to a boarding school was the only option.
And Don Bosco's is known for sports.
Yeah, known for sports, and it had a reputation of producing some of the very best footballers, not only in football, even hockey and other sports.
And you continued playing for the school team?
Yes, in fact, when I came back, I can recall a small incident which happened. I was in the boarding, and in the paddy fields, I used to play barefooted. So it's very interesting that I was playing in those evening sessions of being a boarder.
And I was told you were playing barefoot.
Yes, I was playing barefooted in those evening timeouts for football, for play. And when somebody noticed me there, is the physical teacher, Mr. Dominic Fernandez there. So he asked me to come next day for training. And when I told him that I couldn't get the boots, I don't have boots. So he said, okay, you come in the evening, we'll see you. And then he saw me playing there barefooted. And then he gave me a pair of shoes. And then I started playing. Then we had the inter-class tournaments, which are so famous and so competitive. So when I was there, I was playing there for a class. And after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I couldn't, do much with the shoes on. So I just asked the referee, can I take out my shoes off? I can play barefooted. So he luckily agreed. And I played. And those 10-15 minutes initially with my shoes, I was a total novice. I didn't touch the ball many times. I was not doing anything. But the moment I took out my shoes and the game was completed, I had scored a hat-trick in that.
Is it?
In that, barefooted. So
okay.
That's where I got spotted in Don Bosco's during this.
And once you were spotted at that level, what is your next
then
progress?
I think I was below that under 17 age group, and when I was just about 12 and a half. Then I was taken into the Subroto team, the under 14 teams and the Subroto team. And that's where in 1970s we qualified to play for Subroto
in New Delhi.
New Delhi.
Yes.
And I had scored a couple of goals in that.
So you were always scoring with the team, and you were always a striker.
Yeah, I wasn't a striker when I joined the clubs little later on, but in school I played in the wings for Don Bosco Auditory, which is the parent associate of Don Bosco's. I played as a winger because we played the traditional 4-4 system where you had 4 forwards playing, left outer, right outer, left centre forward and right centre forward. So the traditional system, I was playing as a right outer, right winger.
So and you were scoring goals,
Yes.
and the clubs noticed you. And which is the first club that you said, Don Bosco Oratory, which was there in the JFL League, I suppose.
Yes, when we were in the second division, and the first division was the big clubs. So when we I played for Don Bosco Auditory, and then we were promoted to the first division.
First division.
Yeah, that's along with Dempos and all this place. By the time I reached that qualifying stage, I was already in SSC, in school. So I was thinking what to do after my SSC. So, and I had my brother who was playing for Central Railway. So I was going to opt for doing a catering course in Bombay. So I think I couldn't continue playing for Don Bosco Auditory, which had qualified in the first division, because I decided to go to Bombay. And when I couldn't get a seat in the college, Davis College in Bombay, I was left without a club. And Don Bosco wanted me to play again. But Butelo came to me, and he convinced my brother to ask me to play for Panvel Sports Club.
So you came back and joined Panvel. Panvel in those days was one of the famous clubs that we had in Goa. They even won the Bandurkar Gold Trophy, beating Seza, if I remember. Yeah. So you joined Panvel.
Yeah, that's the year when I joined Panvel. We won the we won the Bandurkar Gold Trophy.
Oh, so you were there at that time.
Yeah, and I happened to score again in the finals against Seza Goa. And we beat good teams like Orkes, even Dempos in the other encounters, taking us to the finals.
You shone with Panvel, and later on, did any other bigger club than Panvel pick you up?
Yeah, immediately once I had established myself as a striker in Panvel, there were many offers from Dempos, Vascos, Salgonkars, Seza. But I had a passion for Dempos, because I remember my school days, I used to see Dempos coming and playing on our school grounds. And that was the motivation for me to do well in football, and that what really motivated me that I should be wearing Dempos jersey one day.
And the belief was always there during your days that you wanted to be always a professional in really terms of earning from football.
Yes, in fact, my attitude towards playing football started only when I started with Dempos. Because when I was Panvel, I was in college in Xavier's doing my graduation. And I never thought that there would be some future in football. So my parents always told me that I should continue with my studies. And that's why I didn't pay so much of attention when I was with Panvel. But once I joined Dempos, and I realized where football can take you. That's when I...
So did you feel that football would give you a good income and for you to make a living?
In fact, at that point of time, to be honest, Jovito, it was a way, it's like a dark tunnel right in front of you, with a small ray of light coming through that tunnel. And you wanted to go there because you knew that there was a lot of light there. That's exactly what happened to me. I thought, if I don't pursue football and take it very seriously, the avenues for me, the options for me were very less for getting a job and getting some sort of security. That's when I became very serious once I started coming for tempos. And obviously, you get a little bit publicity and fame, and then it takes you another level, and you want to maintain that level.
And with Tempos, you started getting some money, whatever may be.
Yes, I think if I recollect back, I was paid only 400 rupees a month at those good old days.
At that time. But
Yeah.
400 at that time
Was a lot of money.
It was
A lot of
it is
money.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you continued playing for Tempos.
Yeah, I continued playing for Dempos till 78. No, in 77. In 77, I got an offer for Mohun Bagan Club in Calcutta.
Yeah, you got a very big offer, and that
Yeah.
was the first time that a Goan was selected by a famous Kolkata club.
Yes,
You were the first one.
I was the first one because my attempt to go there was in 77, but I went there in 79. The reason was that my transfer never came through in 77.
Yeah, so for 1 year you suffered.
Yeah, for 1 year I suffered.
Why didn't your transfer came through?
See, there was a period of layoff period for 6 months, and there was some technical issues which the club brought the objections, and somehow I couldn't.
Yeah, so for 1 year you were starved of football, but you never gave up.
No, I continued training myself because I thought I was young, I could still continue playing, and if I didn't have a club right away, I thought I should stay tuned to play good football.
And when you were training, it was all you and yourself. You had no coach as such to.
Yeah, in fact, in those good old days, I think we don't have something what we have now. The opportunities, the net and means and methods that you can get from the net. But looking at the coaching methods of the coaches that I underwent at different levels, and what is required for a footballer to keep his peak fitness. That's what I was doing all the time. But it's difficult to train alone because you need a lot of motivation.
But then how did you manage? Because you were alone in those days.
Yes, I did put on a little weight because it's difficult to push yourself. But in the mornings, I used to go to do all my technical workout alone. And in the evening, I used to go to play along with the village boys in the fields.
So did you play in inter-village also?
Yes, I used to play in inter-villages, and that was one reason where I could get my match practices.
Okay.
Because training and match practices is a two different.
Yeah, unless you play and use your talent and your skill, you never know how far you are good or not so good.
Correct. Yeah.
So from Dempos, then you couldn't play for 1 year. So you couldn't join Mohun Bagan. So after 1 year, what happened?
So immediately after that, although Salgaonkars and Vasco were trying for me, Cesar also, I decided that I should stay with Dempos. And the management convinced me that I should stay with them.
So you came back to Dempos.
So I joined back Dempos.
And your remuneration remained the same, 400, or it
increased? No, it increased. But I said it was very convenient for me to travel up and down from my home and to my club house and the practice grounds. So I opted, keeping that in mind, to play for Dempos again.
You played for Dempos, and later on you also played for the state team at the nationals, and even later on you represented also India in several tournaments. Could you share with us your progress at the state level and the nationals?
In fact, those 6 months of my transition period, because due to the transfer delays, didn't really put me out of action so much. So when I started playing in the local league, then immediately in 77, I was selected to play for Goa for the state team. And then we went also to play the first Federation Cup in Cochin with Dempos. And that's very tournament for me because I was voted the best player of the tournament.
Is it?
At that time. And Dempos and Mohun Bagan, we lost in semi-finals. And I had scored a hat-trick in the semi-final against Mohun Bagan, but we lost with 5-3 goals. And again, after 77, P.K. Banerjee came to my brother, who incidentally is a FIFA referee also. and who was officiating in that tournament. And he says, I want your brother to come to Calcutta. So that's where once again I got the offer to
So
go to Calcutta.
you went again to Mohanbag.
Yes.
This time you could join them.
Yeah, because the period was limited, so you could join it. And finally I went and joined Mohun Bagan with the simple reason that, I played 77 for India with the Indian team. Then in 78, I went with the Asian Games teams to Bangkok. And then I went to Zambia. And I said now, like you mentioned very early in our conversation today, that I was the first professional player of football. And thinking very professionally, I thought to myself before I made a decision to go to Calcutta, that if I stay a little longer in Dempos, I may get a little stagnated. And I may lose my passion of playing so much. And since I was playing like a professional footballer, you need to keep up your form day in and day out. And that's the reason why I said I must play for one of the best clubs in the country. And that was the motivation for me to go and join Dempos. Mohun Bagan Club.
When you signed for the first time, you signed for an X amount.
Yeah.
And when you signed for the second time, you signed for a Y amount.
Yes.
Could you share with us?
In fact, at that point of time, I think there wasn't so much of payment, which of course obviously is being done now. But I had signed for 2 years contract with Mohun Bagan, and I had got about 90,000 rupees for 2 years.
That's per the season.
Per season.
Per
yeah,
season.
Per
Yes.
season. So I took 1 year's advance before going there, because Calcutta clubs have a very bad history of non-paying players. So I didn't want to take a chance. And when I started the next year, I took 50% of the next year contract. And after 2 years, then again they wanted me to continue there. So I signed the third year. And after third year, then I decided to join Mohammedan Sporting Club, because Mohammedan Sporting Club was building up a team with the famous Majid Baskar, Jamshed Nasiri, Shabir Ali, Ulganathan, and all the top players had gone there to Mohammedan Sporting. So they wanted me to come to join them.
You were still rated very high in Kolkata.
Yeah, because I think I scored about 9 goals in the local league.
You were always been scoring, and
Yes.
that's how you attracted a lot of fans and you had a lot of following.
Like I was mentioning to you some other day, that there was only print media to a certain level.
Yes, at that time.
At that point of time. So I know, and you made me famous. I must once again say that. So print media, the people in Calcutta heard a lot of me, of my performance through print media. And they never saw me as Francis D'Souza, footballer, on electronic media. So when I went there, I can still remember there were thousands of supporters there when it was announced that I was joining and coming to the Maidan there. And they thought when I was walking to the Maidan on the ground, there were people sleeping down and thinking that they were saying, "Hey, Bhagwan, Bhagwan, Bhagwan aa gaya, Bhagwan aa gaya, Mohun Bagan ka Bhagwan aa gaya." So I was telling my secretary, why do they say like this? Because I'm not a Bhagwan, I'm just a human being. He says, no, they rate you very high. They speak very highly about your performance and your scoring against Bengal teams. And that's why they want to see you play. So that's the passion they have, and that's why
I think the Kolkata crowd adored you.
Yes, they were total fanatics, and anybody who scores against Bengal, or when you play Mohun Bagan and you score against East Bengal, you are considered to be of very high quality player.
So they gave you that high quality.
Yes,
rating.
they when I was scoring against Bengal, because against Mohun Bagan I had scored the hat-trick, and then in 78 nationals I had scored against Bengal. Even in the finals when she lost in 78, I had scored against Bengal, and the goal was disallowed for obvious reasons. And so they knew that they knew the reputation I had about scoring goals against Calcutta clubs. And they feel that after having such a good set of players in Mohun Bagan and Bengal and East Bengal, if a player can score against their defense and their goalkeepers, and you're considered to be somebody really good. So that's why they had that passion and that adoration for me.
You played in Santosh Trophy finals, and it was Goa versus Bengal, and that was in Srinagar, if you remember.
Yes.
And you scored that goal, but unfortunately, it was declared as offside, if you remember.
Yes.
Can you recollect those moments? You had two defenders in front, and then how the linesman at that time ruled you offside.
It's very, very vivid in my mind. I can't forget the moment that happened and ultimate resulting in disallowing the goal. I know Rosario was playing the right back, and Bengal was attacking our Goan goal, and there were two stopper backs at the back. Bengal stopper back, and Rosario got the ball on the right wing. So intuition, our understanding was so good at that point of time that I knew exactly what Rosario was doing when he received that ball. So he just tossed the ball right in front of the 18-yard box, and there were two defenders in front of me when the ball was in the air, and I was going for the ball. Then I saw both these defenders coming towards the ball, and when I ran, I saw both the defenders clashing because they were scared that I was coming there for the ball. And when they clashed among themselves, I got a ball which bounced off their body to me right in front of me. And when I saw the ball bouncing against me, I just volleyed the ball into the goal. And I was surprised that it was an offside when we had two defenders in front.
So Goa were denied the
legitimate goal.
Legitimate goal.
Legitimate goal.
Yes. So what did you feel at that time?
Totally heartbroken. I thought the dream of winning Santosh Trophy, which was the dream of every Goan, I think, because we had very good players like Bernard and Dominic, Kathao, and everybody, Mr. Lobo, Albino Lobo, and they had not succeeded in winning the Santosh Trophy. And here we were in the finals and so close to winning it. And after having scored the goal, I thought this was the worst thing that could happen at that point of time.
But you were a good reader of the situation and of the ball. How did you develop this habit?
Yeah, just like you, Jovito, you pose very intelligent questions. I think these intelligent questions are posted to me, asked quite a number of times. So how does a striker score goals? What is the qualities and what are things you require to do? It's not easy to score goals, Jovito. Obviously, first you need blessing from above. Secondly, you need to have that intuition, that calmness, the coolness to think properly. You need to anticipate. And when you anticipate, like very often you see commentators saying, he was there at the right moment, at the right time. You have to make the decisions. Because it was those final decisions at that point of time in split second, you have to go to the right place at the right time. And you have to be supported by your technical ability. And when you make the decisions, you have to know which part of the body you are going to use for that particular ball, which is either on the ground or as a trajectory or it's in the air. And that split decision making is the hardest thing for any striker to do.
But you did it very fluently.
Yes, because I was always a thinking footballer. I was not much of a running footballer. I was a thinking footballer. And everybody says that you should be running all the time and you must be chasing all the time. In football, it's not a game of running. You got to be a thinking footballer. You can't be a running footballer. You got to think every time. And whenever you are on that particular moment, if you are through your experience, able to anticipate and judge and take advantage of that particular ball that has come to you. I remember scoring goals when there was never an opportunity also, because my body language created certain fright in the opponents, where they used to fumble and I used to get the ball. And then somebody used to say, he just scored the ball, he scored from a ball which was a mistake by the defender. But you got to put pressure on the defender to get those mistakes created by you. And that was my plus point.
Did you think about all this when you started playing football? That you would reach up to this highest level and score goals with a fluency?
No, in fact, when, to be very honest, thinking comes when you start thinking that you are a professional. You see, I remember Sampath once, he was a very senior player when he joined Dempos as a goalkeeper. We shared a room together, and then he says, if you analyze your game before you go to sleep, you'll become a better player. And I think I took that along with me every time. It was only when I was going to bed, I was even when standing on the football ground, I used to think what I can do better. How do I get it? I remember a small incident when I came back in '85, back to Goa after finishing from Moment Sporting. Dempos and Churchill were playing in Kampal Stadium, and Churchill was sitting in the stands, and he was saying, he was calling me by my name, and he says, "Mark him, he will score the goal." And I think the game went into the 80th minute and there was still no goals. But he kept on telling his defenders, be on the watch. You mark Francis, you mark Francis. So I remember there was a ball which came to me and 10 minutes was remaining. I just flicked the ball to a charging defender and I volleyed the ball into the goal. And we were leading by 1 goal. And I switched flanks from left to right next time. And I dribbled one fellow and I just throwed the ball. I didn't have to hit a ball harder into the goal. And then we got 2 goals. And I remember Churchill came running to the ground. He hugged me and he told me, this is why they took you to Calcutta.
Okay.
So he says, I'm telling my boys, you are very dangerous. And you have proved what I was shouting at outside the field.
You were also part of the Dempos team which won the Rovers Cup for the first time.
Yeah, it was in '74.
Yes.
Yes.
So how did you feel at that moment? Because no Goan team was winning this Rovers Cup.
Yeah, there were a lot of attempts by Vasco Club and
Yes.
Salgonkar Club, but unfortunately they were not successful. But we had a very balanced team, and we had players performing in every position. I won't take the sole credit of the victory to myself, but we had Nicholas Machado, we had Herbert, we had Williams, we had Sampath in the goal. So we had stalwarts in our team and who played extremely good football.
And you were also part of the team in the Santosh Trophy, Goa versus Bengal. But you played for Bengal that year because you were obviously in Bengal.
Yeah, in fact, what happened was I was there in Bengal with the Bengal team, and we couldn't. Goa was a very strong team, and Goa was always, we were always thinking that Goa is going to take the Santosh Trophy there. So, but unfortunately, it was a very, very good game and very competitive, and we played again, and then we couldn't still decide who should take the Santosh Trophy. But it was a very competitive and very good team.
And later on, when Goa won the Santosh Trophy for the first time and created history, you were also there.
Yeah, fortunately, I happened to be a part of it in 1984 in Tamil Nadu. And I just joined Dempos and I was practicing at home once again. And then I was asked by the club president, that time of the Goa Football Association, to join the team because the team had some injuries. So I flew back to the venue and I played in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then finals.
And then you
Then
won it
we won.
outright. You
Outright.
won it outright.
Yeah, in 83 we couldn't win it, but 84 we won it.
Yeah, you were part of that historic team
Yes.
that won the trophy.
Yes.
And later on, after that, you continued playing football. And when did you think that it was time to hang your boots?
In fact, when I came back, I joined Dempos again, and I continued till 87. Until that time when, fortunately, I was told that Sports Authority of India is looking out for ex-footballers, international footballers who could coach the younger boys, and they had adopted a school in Goa to train young budding footballers of Goa.
It was at St. Anthony's?
St. Anthony's High
Montegiri.
School, Montegiri.
Yeah.
Because they had a very, very good record.
Another school which always gave a lot of place for sports.
Yeah, sports, and they had tremendous achievements. You know, they always had a passion for developing good footballers. They had a big boarding school with a number of boys. So, and the infrastructure was very good for establishing a sports school in that.
So, but did you do your training to be a football coach? Or?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting story, Jovito. Because when I went for interview to the Office of Sports Authority of India in Delhi in 86, while I was still playing for Dempos, they asked me to produce a diploma for coaching, which I never had. And so they asked me, how come we can give you a job when you don't have a diploma in coaching? So I just mentioned to them that I still earn my bread and butter from Dempos, and you have a coaching course in Patiala, which is a 10 months course. And if after doing that course, I'm not assured of a job anywhere. So I couldn't think of leaving Dempos and cut short my earnings. So if you think I am worthy that I should do a course, and if you can give me a job, I will most willingly go and do my course in Patiala and get a qualification so that your conditions are fulfilled. So some of them were there on the panel, and they said agreed. They agreed that within 2 years I have to do my diploma course. They gave me a job and posted me in 87 in St. Anthony's High School, which the school was adopted
here in Goa,
in Montegiri. Yeah. So I was there for 1.5 years, and then I decided I should go and do my diploma course in Patiala.
तुम्ही मागीर डिप्लोमा कोर्स केलो पटियाला गेलो?
Patiala 10 महिने असलेले, 10 महिने कोर्स तो.
होय.
तो मागीर हांवें ऑफिस परमिशन घेतले, and I said goodbye to Dempos when I joined in June, because the academic year starts in June in 87. And then in 88 I went to do my course, because it was mandatory for me to complete it within 2 years. And 88 मागीर हांव विश्वास मुझे बरो आसलेलो, Sezago player, Gaonkar, who was Sezago coach, academy coach. So to and now दोघे आमी गेले थंयसर कोर्स करपाक.
तेन्ना म्हाका दिसना D license, C license, B license, A license आसलेले म्हण.
ना तेन्ना कांय ना.
तेन्ना एकूच कोर्स कित्याक सिरील फेर्रांव जो गेला पयलोच कोच गोंयचो, तोय NIS डिप्लोमा करून 10 महिन्यांचे हिंगा येयल्लो.
करेक्ट.
तोच कोर्स तुवें केलो?
हांवें केलो तो.
तुका थिंगा रावचें पडलें पाट्याला?
हय, 10 महिने रावचें पडलें. आनी थंयसर ते कोर्स म्हणटा तो इट वॉज लिटल मोर एडवान्स compared to what maybe Cyril Ferrao did, because then they had allied subjects, science, training methods, psychology included in the course. So it was a little different course, and we had to pass those subjects also, along with your main sports.
You had no difficulty in going through?
No, I didn't really have a difficulty, but to tell you, I became the first coach in Goa, NIS coach, to have got an A grade in that course.
I must still congratulate you for that.
Thank you very much. And not only that, in training method and sports medicine, I came out first among the 400 students in.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yes, and when I went back to SAI, Sports Authority of India, to the Director General and I showed him my diplomas that, sir, you have given me an opportunity without this doing this course, which was mandatory. This is what I have achieved after going there. And so he turned around and he said, I think we have not made a mistake by giving you that opportunity.
I think they read you very well. They read that you are a footballer par excellence, and there has not been another striker like you.
No, and I think what worked against me is when they asked me one question during the interview, is that why did you continue to be a professional and not take a job?
Well, even at Dempos,
Yeah.
players were recruited and given certain jobs in their companies.
Yes, I mean, I had got
But in
offers.
your case, it was totally different.
Yes, I didn't accept a job.
Yes.
I tried to pursue it for one reason, and I'd like to say this very clearly so that a lot of our Goan boys hear this. See, when you're playing as a professional football, you see, you have to give your heart and soul, because your feet and you are as good as what your feet and you do on the football field. So you got to train more harder, because that's the only way you can survive in a job where you have no security. They can ask you tomorrow to go. So you have to devote your time, maximum time, in developing your skills and your fitness, and learn every time that you are watching a game and playing a game.
They say there's a lot of difference between football then, when you were there in those years, and football now. Though the facilities are absolutely, on the higher side now. You never had all these facilities.
Yeah,
then.
I mean, all the facilities are non-existent.
Yes.
You take your football shoes, you take your ball, you take your surfaces, you take your treatment from your club, the facilities from your club. There was nothing existing. I mean, you didn't have training methods and recuperating methods that now the clubs are using by means of sauna bath, steam bath, physiotherapy for rehabilitation and all this stuff. Nothing existed, Jovito. I mean, and we played just for the passion of it and for the love of it. We played with injuries.
So, in those days when you were playing, facilities were absolutely non-existent compared to what the players get today.
Yes, Jovito, right from the football shoes, the boots, the shin guards, the ball, the surface on the ground, the hotels, and everything.
I don't think so. You stayed in any hotel like the way they stay now in 5-star hotels now.
Yeah, I mean, but I have nothing to grumble. I can't. That's what the club had given to us, and in fact, I am very grateful to the clubs to give us the opportunity. They were the stepping stone for our success and our glory and fame, and it took us to a certain level. If club like Tempos, where I played, wasn't there, I mean, I might have not become a football player. So I can't grumble what we never had or what the club didn't give us or what the facilities we never got. But it made us more determined. It drove us to do better and better, because that's the only way that we could achieve good facilities. And that's one reason why I joined Mohun Bagan Club. And then we were staying at a 5-star hotel, and we were getting buffet dinner, and we could go to whatever we wanted to eat and all. So
At that time, even getting teams from Kolkata in Goa was a very big draw. Today, where do you think the Goan football stands vis-a-vis Kolkata first?
I think now we have crossed that barrier when we say that we had the best footballers in Calcutta. I think Goa also has a lot of footballers now who are much better than Calcutta boys. I mean, those good old days where Calcutta players were really good and performed, and there was a difference, because you could never beat a Calcutta team in a second encounter. So Calcutta standard of football was very high. Individually, the players are very high.
I think Goa has now grown,
Yes,
developed much
tremendously, and some of the footballers we see are very good. But I think what is required is that they have to put a little more effort to be very clinical and very professional and very technically sound.
But what you see now, we have the ISL, we have got the I League. Do you think the standard is stagnating, or do you think it is growing?
I think Jovito, it's a very good opportunity for you to play along some good foreigners, get coached by good foreign club coaches who have a lot of knowledge. In fact, it's a blessing for players in Goa. We never had. I remember only Bob Butland
Yes, at
came
that time.
at that point of time
Yeah.
to coach Tempos in '78,
Yes.
and whatever he told us was like gospel for us.
Yeah, but I was told Bob
For
Butland
football.
was never even a footballer.
Yes, but let me be honest. When you find somebody from a white skin coming to your place and telling you things, yeah, we innocently believe so much,
Yeah.
and we try to do whatever he was trying to do.
And
But-
he did wonders.
Yeah, he worked
whatever it may
wonders.
be,
Yeah,
yes.
because he had a wonderful set of players. He worked wonders because everybody was really individually very good, and that's the lesson I'm trying to emphasize today, is that our Goan boys have to be individually very good. If you are individually very good, coaches will start picking you up. Coaches will start playing you in the first 11 if you deliver. When you are exceptionally individually very good, you got to deliver. You got to get those passes properly. You got to trap the ball. You have to read the game. You have to combine very well with the players. And when you get an opportunity, it's not a striker's game anymore. I mean, the system they play and the style of football, it's not a striker's game anymore. I mean, you play players from wing backs and midfielders are scoring goals today. So unless you become really good technically and tactically, I mean, your survival is going to be always a question mark.
And when you took up coaching with Sai, what are the difficulties that you came across?
Of course, there were a lot of teething problems, like this training school we had in Giri. But irrespective of that, I think there were two boys under my coaching programs which went and played. One boy went and played for under 17 in India, and one boy went under 14 to Bangladesh with the Indian team. And then I came back, I joined the Sports Authority hostels. That was initially with the boys team and then with the girls team, the girls hostel.
You were a total success as far as football is concerned. Football became, as you rightly said, bread and butter. Did you plan for all this to happen in your career?
No, I never planned. Initial stages, I think it was just a passion and the desire to be somebody. It drives you for recognition. You want to be recognized in society. You want to maintain. And I always keep on telling a lot of my budding footballers in Goa, you got to earn the respect for yourself by doing something on the football field, and you should work for that respect. When you walk in your village or you walk in your club or walk anywhere, you should be regarded by the people, because they are the people who put you on a pedestal high, or they
They
bring
put you on
down,
a very high pedestal.
and they bring you down to your knees also.
Okay.
So you got to keep up your prestige by your performance. And
But they always kept you very high.
yeah, because I remember my village boys and all, they always had expectations, and they used to always tell me, "You are going to score today. You are going to score tomorrow." I didn't know I was going to score. I didn't know even when the whistle had gone that I was going to score. Everything develops with that particular time and the destiny, and some of the goals that, to be honest, Jovito, some of the goals that I scored, I never dreamed that I could have scored those goals. Like one goal, I will give you an instance. I remember we are playing the Bandurkar Trophy finals at Kampal Stadium with Leaders Club of Punjab. And Ravi was a very good goalkeeper. He was an Indian goalkeeper with the Punjab team. And when the game started, it was not even 20 or 25 seconds, I think. There was a missed pass by our forward Nandagad. It hit a defender and the ball was bouncing just on top of the arc circle in the center. and I just said, okay, I just saw the goalkeeper 2 feet away from his goal, and I just volleyed it from there for about 40 yards, and it just went over the goalkeeper and it went into the goal, and I couldn't believe that a shot which I could take in 40 yards could result in a goal against Ravi Kumar, who was an India goalkeeper. So sometimes you don't expect this. Sometimes it happens because you think quickly and you act quickly, and then you do what is required to be done, and you just take those chances. Otherwise, nothing is specified that it's not a drawing board moment where you can go and score goals. It doesn't happen like that.
You are also you have a record for scoring the fastest goal in a match.
Yes, and also I think you had. I have your article with me, which you wrote as a review of the league in 77 or 78 on your Navin Times of the whole league tournament, and you 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 rated my goal against Brahmanand in that league as one of the best goals in the league. And I always keep on telling Brahmanand, the best three of my goals I have scored against you.
Is it?
Yes. One was against Dempo's Salgaonkar for Alem Trophy in Margao. The goal that was in your league. And the third goal is when I joined Mohan Bagan Club in Calcutta. In Federation Cup, my first match with Mohan Bagan was against Salgaonkar in Calcutta at Eden Gardens. And I think it was not even 30 seconds. It was a 3-touch move between me, Manas and Bidesh. And the third touch, I had the ball into the net. And it was against Brahmanand.
So it was nice having you, Francis, today with us with the CCR TV. You have shared a lot of your insights in what made you what you became one day. And you have been a very, very successful footballer. And I don't think so we have had another most intelligent striker in Goa, at least now. We wish you all the best and hope to see you again sometimes, giving us the advice so that our youngsters can emulate you, because ultimately it is scoring goals that matter.
Yes, and thank you very much, and thanks CCR TV for having me on this show. And I hope the conversation between you and me can help our budding footballers to take a little bit of advice what they have.
And at least the one advice that they need to take is the passion that they all need to put into what they are doing. Thank you very much, Francis, and to all our viewers, goodbye.